Okay, let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Office Hours. My name is Sam Stewart. I am a Health Services Research Analyst at the All of Us Research Program here at the Data and Research Center. So welcome to our Friday Office Hours. We have a wonderful guest speaker today from our policy team who's going to go over how to be in compliance with All of Us policies, especially using the Researcher Workbench. But before we get started, I have a quick announcement, and then I'll introduce our speaker. So our studio is now live. I got this question last week and I couldn't tell you guys, but it is now in the Researcher Workbench and we're very excited. So you asked, we heard you, and we have implemented our studio in the Researcher Workbench. So if you want to scan that QR code, we do have a User Support Hub article just explaining how to launch that application and just using the point and click interface to get some of the stuff from the dataset builder into our studio for use. We also have a tutorial notebook on that lives under how to get started with registered tier data. But if you have any questions about our studio or want to learn more, scan the QR code or email us at support@researchallofus.org. So we're very excited. So now I'm going to introduce our speaker, Nichole. So Nichole is a health science policy analyst in the All of Us Research Program Policy Office, where she works on data access and use policies within the All of Us Research Program. And her background is in genetics research and science policy. So this has been kind of a hot topic around the Researcher Workbench is, hey, I'm ready to publish my data. I'm ready to use the Workbench. I have some specific policy questions. So I'm really excited for her to dive in. So I'll stop sharing my screen and pass it over to you, Nichole.
Great. Thank you, Sam. And hi, everyone. Nice to see you all today. I am here to talk to you about some of the policies that you are going to encounter and need to be aware of as you begin your journey to publish or present or share your information that you have gained from doing research within the Workbench. And so, as you know, the mission of the All of Us Research Program is built upon several core values and principles around trust, transparency, ethics, and diversity. We approach these principles by addressing researchers in two phases of their research journey, both before they access the data as well as during their use of the data. And we address in the phase before researchers access the data through education and accountability, and during researcher use of the data through oversight and assistance. Today, I'm going to review the relevant policies we have in place to ensure researcher accountability, oversight, and assistance. As you may recall, after completing all of the necessary registration steps, researchers must complete the Responsible Conduct of Research training course, and then read and sign and agree to the Data User Code of Conduct, which is also abbreviated often for us to the DUC. And this DUC details how data may and may not be used by registered users, outlines a variety of clauses that require compliance with all of our policies, and includes the note that we may add additional policies as needed. Currently, our policies include the ethical conduct of research policy, stigmatizing research policy, data and statistics dissemination policy, publication and presentation policy, and we have a process for user appeals if needed. They all detail the ways in which researchers can and cannot use our resources to ensure that researchers continue to prioritize trust, prevent misuse of data at every step in your journey with this data. And so today, we are going to go over the most relevant policies for you when you are preparing to publish, present, or otherwise share your research findings. And these are the data and statistics dissemination policy, as well as the publication and presentation policy. And the data and statistics dissemination policy is linked in one of the previous slides. It expressly details that you are not allowed to share cell or participant counts fewer than 20, nor should there be any way that anyone reading or watching your research product can calculate a participant count of fewer than 20. If there is a reason you believe you should be able to do this and it is not as big of a concern for re-identification, you can request an exception to this policy, but that exception must be submitted and approved by our Resource Access Board before you submit anything for publication or otherwise share the product in any way. The publication and presentation policy requires that researchers uphold the value of transparency by informing and reporting back to the program your publication, presentation, or other product at least 2 weeks before the date that it is published or presented or shared. And this publication must also be submitted to PubMed Central, as well as provided public access to the article additionally. And most importantly, the researchers or authors of the publication or presentation must include an acknowledgement statement in their work that acknowledges the participants of the program and their contributions to the research. Now, we understand that while researchers review all of these policies at the beginning of your journey on the Workbench, they may not be at the front of mind when preparing to publish or present. So we've designed a checklist to review the policies and the steps required to comply with each of these policies before publishing or presenting your research. And this checklist is a tool to walk researchers through all steps in the journey that they should take to review your publication, presentation, poster, or other work, and ensure it's in compliance with all of our policies and procedures. It also includes all of the relevant links to follow, including a RAB, data and statistics dissemination, exception request if needed. And so I'm going to walk you through what this checklist entails, and then we're going to go through a few examples of how to ensure that your work complies with these policies. The first step in the checklist is to make sure that you're in compliance with the data and statistics dissemination policy by confirming that you have reviewed your work and it does not include any participant or incident count that correlates to a participant fewer than 20, and that you also do not have any data that it can be back calculated to identify participant counts fewer than 20. The alternative to not needing to check this box for yourself is if you have already received an exception request from the Resource Access Board or the RAB. And the link to submit that request is here as well. The All of Us publication and presentation policy portion of the checklist also details that you can confirm you have submitted the reporting form for your work. You have included a detailed statement acknowledging the program and its participants, and we include an example of what that statement can look like here. You also have included a data availability or data access statement, especially if that's required by your journal or publication, and that you specifically cite the researcher Workbench and All of Us data set as well as the version used. This can look something like this data used. The study used data from the All of Us research programs, either registered or controlled here, whichever you use, and data set and the version number that you used, available to authorized users on the researcher Workbench. This is to make sure that as you point readers to the source of your data, that this data is not available to everybody who might want to ask you questions about it. It's only available to authorized users. And so we want to make sure we provide you with language to point readers or viewers in that direction. If you are submitting a peer-reviewed manuscript, you also must make sure that that manuscript is submitted to PubMed Central immediately after acceptance and confirm that it's made available to the public as well. We also recommend highly that you review the policy on stigmatizing research and you confirm via the checklist that you've taken adequate steps to ensure the study will not be stigmatizing to any individuals, groups, or communities in accordance with our policy. You also can review, and we recommend reviewing the policy on ethical conduct of research and confirm you have performed the study in a manner that aligns with the ethical principles set forth in our policy here as well. And if you have any questions about these policies or whether it is a concern about something you're doing that you realize works within a marginalized group and you want to make sure that you're addressing and using language that is appropriate, we have the Resource Access Board is also there to help you with that. So you can always submit questions, not just exception requests or appeals, to them to confirm that you are approaching this issue that you're addressing in a manner that is compliant with these policies here as well. They're here as a resource to assist you with your research journey, especially when dealing with populations that we want to make sure are not further stigmatized, and when we are managing our research in an ethical way. And so we understand that the data and statistics dissemination policy is a policy that some can have difficulty making sure that their data is in compliance with this. And so I've outlined here a few different examples of violations of this policy and ways that you can correct those violations and make it compliant with our policy. One example here is when a direct participant count of less than 20 is displayed. In this case, the 85 and older category has a participant count of 12 and a percentage value here that if you apply to the total number of individuals who in this hypothetical table received procedure A, you can also calculate that there are 12 individuals there. Another way that this could present as a violation is if the researcher attempted to mask the participant count of less than 20 by saying less than 20, but you can still back calculate using the other categories, the 60 to 69, 70 to 74, 75 to 79, and 80 to 84 year age categories, the participant counts for those, and then subtracting those from the total amount of participants in the table, and you will get 12. You can also, again, apply that percentage value there to the total amount and obtain the count of 12, which is fewer than 20. And finally, if you attempt as a researcher to mask this value entirely, you can still use these values remaining to back calculate and identify that there are 12 participants in this remaining age category. So one of the ways you can correct for this is to collapse one of the independent categories into another independent category. And so in this case, this correction method here I've listed as correction method A could collapse the 85 and older category into the 80 to 84. And now there is no way to identify which group or how many people 85 and older would be less than 12, would have a participant count of less than 12 that received this procedure. Additionally, you can obscure or obfuscate the counts here by making sure that you perform a mathematical calculation and obscure more than one category. So in this case, this was accomplished by determining what the difference is between 12 and 20, which is the threshold, subtracting that from the total number of participants in the 60 to 69 age group. And then now you can accurately say that that age group represents a value, a count of participants that is greater than the amount you're showing. And now you can say that the 85 and under category has an amount less than the amount you're showing there. And you also need to make sure that you appropriately mask the percentages in these counts as well, so that you're not just masking the raw count, you're also masking the percentages so no one can go back and back calculate it. I understand that this one is not as straightforward. It is very helpful, and we have some additional resources to guide you through that as well. But please let me know if you have any questions on that also. And finally, another option is you can just completely mask more than one independent category. So in this case, this method entails masking the 80 to 84 year category and 85 and up, because you can back calculate the value if only one category is masked within a group. You cannot back calculate if more than one is masked within a group. And that is kind of the big indicator that you need to keep an eye out for, also maintaining that you don't show exact percentage values for those categories that need to be masked as well. Additionally, just as a reminder, when you're downloading data from the Workbench, you are not allowed to download participant level data. You can download aggregate data, aggregate statistics, analyses, other types of information, but anything that contains the participant identifiers and row level information or participant level information about them would be a violation of our data user code of conduct and is prohibited from downloading as well. And finally, we do have our resources available to address oversight, including the way that we continually monitor the use of the Workbench, as well as the products that come out from researchers to ensure that they are in compliance with our policies, as well as the assistance that we have for you if you have any questions about your work or about how to make sure you're in compliance via the Resource Access Board. They're available to you at any stage in your research journey, whether it is at the beginning when you're creating your workspace or at the end when you're ready to publish or anytime in between. And the Resource Access Board allows for user-initiated workspace reviews. There's a portion on your form when you're creating your workspace to select for that if you would like. The public can initiate workspace reviews via the research projects directory. We do periodic workspace audits to make sure that you have provided a meaningful description there. It is not rich in jargon and it is easy to understand, and it accurately represents your work and is in compliance with our other policies. And finally, we have in audits that we conduct if anything is flagged by others. And I believe that is all I have for you on the presentation today. I'm happy to answer any questions about this, and I understand you may also have questions about the Workbench in general to discuss with Sam as well.